Hello, and welcome to the MassWorks webinar for this year's Community One Stop for Growth application round. My name is Mark Horn, and I'm the Senior Director of Communities and Programs here at EOED. Today, we're going to cover a number of MassWorks topics, including some basic program information, as well as application details, notes on budgets, timelines, and eligible uses of funds, as well as details of what makes a project competitive, an example of a previously funded application. The purpose of the MassWorks program is to provide infrastructure grants to municipalities and other units of local government. The program funds design, construction, land acquisition, and repair to other improvements of publicly owned infrastructure. This is typically done by improving sewer and water systems, providing utility extensions, improving your streets, roads, as well as curb cuts, parking, water treatment systems, telecommunication systems, general transportation improvements. And the program also is able to fund green space, as well as urban renewal districts and pedestrian and bicycle improvements. Eligibility for the MassWorks program is limited to any Massachusetts city or town acting through its municipal offices in other units of local government in the Commonwealth. In order to access the MassWorks portion of the application through the Community One Stop for Growth, you'll navigate to Section 2. And under question 2.4, you will first select Infrastructure under the Development Continuum category. Then, under Project Type, you will select Infrastructure to support new mixed-use, commercial or industrial development. And then, depending on your needs, your project focus will select either pre-construction and design, which is for engineering and design documents only, or construction, which is to implement a grant that will invest in the physical infrastructure of your community. The important parameters to note about the MassWorks program is that we do not have maximum grant sizes for infrastructure projects. However, a typical grant project in the MassWorks program will typically range between $1 million to $5 million. And a typical grant for a pre-development project will typically be in the $100,000 to $500,000 range. It's important to note that the set aside for small town road improvements under the MassWorks program is capped at $1 million. Additionally, the program does have some timeline requirements. MassWorks grants scope contracts for 3 full fiscal years following the successful execution of a contract. What this means is that 3 years after the year you apply for a MassWorks grant, it is expected that your project will be completed. We do this to prioritize projects that are shovel-ready and can be completed within a reasonable time frame. The MassWorks grants are typically used in 3 broad categories. Infrastructure pre-development. So these are for the purposes of designing infrastructure in your community and are related to the process of engineers and architects creating a set of design documents that can then be used later for infrastructure construction. Our infrastructure construction projects are mostly related to the physical improvements of roadways, bridges, culverts, water and sewer systems, public utility projects, as well as sidewalks and open space. Lastly, we also have a set aside for small town road improvements. And this money is set aside for roadway and streetscape improvement only. And it, as I mentioned earlier, is limited to $1 million per project. There are some ineligible uses of funds. Generally, MassWorks is not able to consider any vertical construction. The program cannot also be used to directly subsidize the cost of a private development. And we do not offer a grant management fee charged to the grant. It's important to note that the most competitive applications for the MassWorks program are going to demonstrate a readiness to proceed. We call this shovel ready. These projects typically have a high level of local support, evidenced by local matching funds in a letter from the municipal CEO. And these projects can also demonstrate real growth in jobs or housing at the local level. Things to pay attention to where you can demonstrate this will be in your budget, local match, your private development outputs, how far along your design status is, the ability to predict your permitting path, to demonstrate measurable outcomes in public infrastructure, such as linear feet of roadway improved or sidewalk, and the private development impacts, such as number of units of housing produced or number of jobs produced. There are a number of required application attachments for the MassWorks program. Importantly to note is a engineer's cost estimate that provides accurate pricing for your project, as well as an aerial view of the limits of work of the public project. And as I mentioned previously, a support letter from your municipal CEO. We also, as a requirement, need to see the output report from the Commonwealth's Climate Resilience Design Standards tool, as well as a letter from the private development proponent. If your application is a small town road improvement project, I would like to note the importance of including clear images of the roadway to be improved, particularly focusing on the areas of the roadway that create public safety hazards. An example of a competitive project that has been funded in the past includes a project in the town of Wayland that added 218 units of housing, 55 of which were affordable. What made this project successful was a substantial local match at 50% of the total project cost, the fact that the project was advanced in design when it was applied for the MassWorks program, that it had documented local support, and that the investment in the public infrastructure was critical to allowing the private development to proceed. I'd like to point you to some resources that we have in completing your application, including our expression of interest, our one-stop and program webinars, as well as our MassWorks office hours. If you have specific questions for MassWorks program staff related to your eligibility or project, please consider attending the infrastructure office hours, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you for your time. Good luck with your Community One Stop for Growth application.